Hello, everyone. This is an excerpt from our podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk about some of the best and worst directors and extended cuts of films that have come out.
We're going to have a grand time, I think.
We already did it.
We already had a grand time.
You're going to love it.
Yeah. You, the listener, will also have a grand time.
That's right. And you'll definitely give a thumbs up if you are so inclined, because it helps us. And isn't that important?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, it is.
Okay,
it is
great.
in fact important.
Yes.
I mean, not in my regular life.
No.
Like the thumbs up do not come to me in any kind of real sense.
That's
like
true.
if I'm walking down the street or anything. Why, does it happen to you?
Yeah, all the time. I get flooded with them.
Huh, is that not inconvenient?
Yeah, sometimes I'll open my car door and like 50 of them will swarm in. They're buzzing around. I'm swatting them away.
Huh.
Yeah.
So they're alive.
Yeah, it's not good actually.
And they're thumbs.
Yeah, they're thumbs.
They're living like disembodied thumbs.
Yep.
The hands and...
Yeah. So if people want that, to do that to me, you can.
Huh. It's immensely disturbing.
Anyway, here's the clip. Mason, all this talk of extending cuts of things where they'll take a movie that people aren't very happy with and make a potentially slightly better version of that.
Certainly longer.
Certainly longer. Not always, as we'll talk about, because I do want to talk about extended cuts / director's cuts.
Oh, yes.
Of movie cuts. Mm-hmm. You know? Do you feel like there is a difference between extended cut and director's cut? I mean, it's in the words are different.
The words are certainly different.
There would be, wouldn't there?
The intent is often different.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
Yes, I believe there is.
What would you put that down to?
And I would my guess would be in a lot of instances the director's cut is a shorter cut. Sometimes you would
Sure,
think.
yeah.
Surely the veteran directors know enough to know that not everything they make is necessarily going to be genius.
Yeah.
Or, they will do alternate takes or scenes that don't work once they've been filmed or finished or what have you. And,
exactly.
and the inclination would be to cut everything out. Like I know there are plenty of directors out there who learn that their movie has been given an extended cut and they're like, I wouldn't have done this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because often it's just used to sell like a different version of it to extend it out. A director's cut is very much a different thing where it's like, well, like this wasn't exactly what I wanted to do at the time necessarily, but there's different variations on that. I actually took a couple of quotes from some famous directors.
Oh, yes.
From Wikipedia. People think that we don't research, but I skim this.
You put
like
in the
10
director's
minutes.
name and you click on it and you hope it's a page that immediately leads you to what
Exactly
you were
right,
looking for in the first
no.
place. And if it doesn't, you don't bother.
To be fair, I did actually do a fair bit of research into this. This first part, not as much, because it is just on Wikipedia. But James Cameron says, what I put into theaters is the director's cut. Nothing was cut that I didn't want cut. All the extra scenes we've added back in are just for a bonus for the fans. And I think he said that about Avatar in particular. Because he does have some other extended cuts of things, or director's cuts.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
Right,
We're going to mix that up in this. Don't even worry about it, okay? Yeah, so I think that's an interesting idea that for directors that often the version that goes to cinemas is like, well, this is the tightest version of this that there can be. But at the same time, I think that is only afforded to certain directors.
Auteurs.
Yes.
Like your James Cameron.
Like your Christopher Nolans. Yes.
Jinx, you can't say anything else for the rest of the episode.
Fuck you, then I'm leaving. Fuck this shit, I don't need this.
Oh, no. I called his bluff and he did exactly what I would have done if he'd said Jinx. Oh, no. But yeah, like your auteur, like I guess if you are like, a kind of a journeyman director who just takes a job, wants to make the best product they can, but is not invested in it as a creator of that thing.
Sure.
I guess they would be like, sure.
Yeah. Or even if they are, and then the version that goes to cinema is like, well, I didn't want this version.
Yeah.
Which we've seen happening.
But I got the
recently.
Money, so.
So whatever.
Yeah.
I'm rich and that's
cool. How do
cool.
you feel about just an extended cut of anything generally?
Generally, interesting. It can often highlight the reasons why they're not in there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And often also like a home release can act as an entirely different thing, which can be a good thing. I've got another quote here, if you don't mind me, if we're doing quotes, which I am. Yes. Peter Jackson talks about how he considers the theatrical cut of Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies to be the final director's cut, but within the constraints of like a theatrical kind of distribution.
Yes.
But the extended cuts, which we will talk about famously that he's made for these 6 movies, they're produced for fans of the material so they could see all the shots and develop more of the script to make it closer to J.R.R. Tolkien's original vision, and that was cut for running time and other issues.
See, that's my question. My next question would be, if you like an extended cut, how often have you watched an extended cut?
Where to begin?
Oh, well, look, I think we should start on Lord of the Rings because I think the Lord of the Rings movies that are in cinemas are terrific.
Yeah.
As is.
Yeah.
That being said, whenever I watch them again, which to be fair, I haven't done in quite a long time, which I do want to get back to because I want to cover them for Caravan of Garbage at some point. But
you'd watch the extended version.
100%.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think and not that they're better movies, but I don't mind the fact that there is more of them because it does help flesh out the story.
Right.
Not in major ways that necessarily affect the flow or certain characters, but at the same time you get things like the death of Saruman is not in like Christopher Lee doesn't appear in that final movie theatrically, but then you see him get stabbed in the special edition or the extended cut, the director's cut, whatever you want to call. We're going to mix that up a lot, so apologies. But that's a whole other element of that story, which I wanted to see.
I think that's interesting because I generally, like, let's say I bought a Blu-ray and it had the theatrical release and an extended cut on it. I feel I would watch the extended cut and think to myself, well, this has added a lot to the lore of whatever universe this is in.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see some stuff that was cut out, or that expands my understanding of this movie or what have you. But I feel like if I wasn't satisfied with the theatrical cut, I wouldn't have bought the Blu-ray in the first place.
Yes.
If I was like, I kind of didn't like this movie because it felt like it was missing pieces.
I wish I could see the extra 7 minutes.
I don't think I would go and then buy an extended version. I would feel it would feel cheap to me. So I would feel cheated, I think.
For you, it's something that you have to love or at least like, and you're interested in seeing more. And it's not necessarily because you're like, this isn't finished. It's because I love this universe and that they've created.
Yeah, I feel if anything, especially to market an extended cut as, well, this is what we didn't see in theaters because
the big wigs,
and you would know that because you saw an incomplete movie at the cinema.
You idiots!
I'm mad about that. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, often they cut down run times to fit more sessions in and whatever.
Yeah.
And
but again, if I'm seeing a nonsensical movie because it appears to have pieces missing, I'm not going back for another dip on that.
No, of course. You're talking about Justice League?
Yeah, unless it's free, I guess.
Unless it's free, I guess. So on the back of Lord of the Rings, though, because we're going to run through a bunch of directors and extended cuts for this and what was missing and what was put back in and whatever, we're going to hit on every one of them. So if you've got a favourite, don't worry, we covered it.
Yeah, don't worry.
But off the back of that, saying how much I love those Lord of the Rings extended cuts because they are seamless and they add to the story in a huge way. I will never watch the extended cut of The Hobbit, all of those movies.
Yeah, right.
There is no part of me that I don't want to watch those again, let alone watch more of them. You know? Yeah.
I only watched the third one of those, and I feel I got my money's worth.
Sure. I mean, we'll probably go back to them at some point. But
come on.
What would you watch for the Lord of the Rings? Would you watch the extended cut of that?
Well, I have, but again, I don't think I'd go back.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to at some point, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but you wouldn't choose to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think. But just knowing that. Well, what happened to Saruman? Oh, he got stabbed. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
like is that scene? And again, I can't particularly. It doesn't jump to mind immediately.
He falls off. He falls and he lands on a big wheel.
Is it so visually spectacular that you would?
I just think it's a neat scene that. Okay. Is in it. And yeah, it looks good because they do the special effects. They make it properly. It's not right. It's it's
Did
the way
they
it
finish
is.
the special effects for the home video release? Or do you think they did? Okay,
yes,
right.
Absolutely. Because they would come out maybe 9 months after the movie came out.
Yeah.
Kind of in preparation for like the next one normally. Those I feel are...
So that was a finished extended cut without a furious fan demand for it.
It seemed to be always the plan. And I mean, the special edition or the special features on those things as well are a whole other story unto itself. If you've got the time, I know you're not going to do this, but a lot of people have, just pouring through all the way they made those movies. It's just incredible.
Has that also died in a way?
Yes, because there's no money in it.
In making of documentaries.
That being said, then you get like The Mandalorian, for example. Now there's a Disney Plus show dedicated to the making of.
Right.
So I think it's probably going to shift digitally. And now also when you buy things, for example, I bought Batman v Superman recently for $27.
It was $16 at JB Hi-Fi, I'm just saying.
You son of a bitch! What, any other extended director's cut that you want to go? Oh, is that it? Are we done?
Yeah, that's the only one we've got to there.
Well, one of the most famous ones is Blade Runner because there are something like 8 cuts of this film. Mm-hmm. And that's, of course, if you don't even go into fan cuts, which I'm sure there's a million of those as well. But in 2007, there was the final cut of Blade Runner.
I've been told by a number of sources that is the one that I should rewatch.
Yes. I think with Blade Runner, the only way you can really go wrong is if you watch the original one with the narration.
They don't advertise for killers in a newspaper. That was my profession. Ex-cop. Ex-Blade Runner.
The others, there are added scenes of unicorns and dreams and things like that and bits and pieces. But I think as long as you watch the one without the narration, you're probably doing okay. also, of course, there's the happy ending as well, which they take out, I think, from this version. Who knows? A lot of these I've kind of lost track of which sections of movies I've seen, what clips I've just watched on YouTube. You know, I've kind of mixed all these together. But no, I think if you had to watch a version of Blade Runner, it would be without the internal monologue and with some of the unicorn dreams, I guess. And at the end, they don't have the happy ending where they drive off and you know.
Do you think that if you were shown a version of Blade Runner that was just a variety of clips from YouTube put together, would you notice?
I mean, I probably, yeah. It's a movie
so?
I know reasonably
like there's
well.
some narration, but not all the narration.
Oh, then I don't know at that point, do I?
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I think Blade Runner's famously just kept being tinkered with over the years. But now that I think that it has a sequel, you don't really need to change any of that because any kind of questions that you're trying to answer by changing the narrative is now kind of being wrapped up in a movie that nobody saw.
Yes, exactly.
At the cinema.
They are never making another one of these.
Yeah. What else, though?
Okay, so I looked at a bunch of lists of these are movies that have been greatly improved by a director's cut or an extended cut.
Okay.
And on every list, Waterworld.
Yep, I got that one here as well. What do you know about it?
I know it's an insanely expensive movie.
Went $75 million over budget or something like that?
That's a lot of money, James.
Especially in 1995 when that came out.
It famously broke up the friendship between Kevin Costner and the director, apparently. Like they had a personal friendship. There was delays from hurricanes breaking out during shooting.
CGIing hair and bald spots.
They had 3 hours of footage, and the theatrical cut was just over 2 hours. So they knocked a lot of it out.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea was that then for the home release, any version they show now, what you buy or what's on television, it's the 3 hours.
Oh, good.
And apparently that's the only version I think I've seen because I didn't see this at the cinema when I was a kid. Did you?
No.
But apparently, and look,
I didn't even see the spiritual sequel, The Postman.
Spiritual?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it is because it's about a man and he's delivering mail for America or whatever.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, but I've never hated Waterworld, and maybe it's because I haven't seen that 2 hour chopped up version because apparently a lot of the reviews at the time were like, this is probably a good movie somewhere, but this version of it isn't. And I think it's fine. And apparently they use better takes of scenes. There's more humor and things like that.
Maybe I've only ever seen the...
It's entirely possible. And they chop things up for television as well. So who really knows?
Well, that's the thing because like all my experience with movies as a kid was a movie, obviously chopped up with ads on television.
Yep.
So they were all 3 hours long anyway.
Yeah,
so how long must have Waterworld been?
It could have been one of those things that played over two nights, like
right?
they did with Dances with Wolves. I famously remember.
They would have, wouldn't they? It would have been another Costner epic.
Costner epic. That's right, exactly. What's interesting though, and this same can maybe be said for Justice League, depending on what happens with it. The Hateful Eight seemed to start the trend of taking a movie, adding stuff to it, then breaking it up into episodic adventures.
I think The Hateful Eight was excruciatingly long, even in its theatrical release.
It wasn't my favourite one either. I think there's a good movie in there, but I am interested, and I haven't done it yet, because on Netflix it is 4 episodes and it's 2 hours and 10 minutes now as opposed to 167, plus there's credits in that as well. But I do wonder how it does play episodically, and maybe knowing that I can watch 40 minutes now and watch 40 minutes tomorrow, maybe it's something that you could enjoy more like that as opposed to having to sit with the whole thing. Yeah, but I don't know if it even worked that way because it's interesting to me, that movie, and it was done this way intentionally, it's kind of framed like a stage play,
Yeah,
It's
right.
like the one set, like it's in a little cabin and everyone's walking about and drinking poison coffee or whatever's going on. So I would be interested to revisit that. So Richard Donner famously kicked off Superman 2. He filmed 1 and 2 back to back. Richard Lester finished it off. I think the original Superman movie 2 is good, regardless. I don't know if I've sat down and watched the whole Richard Donner thing, but they went back decades later and they used some kind of rehearsal footage and some other things to piece it back together, and people seem to prefer it on the whole, but it's not a fully completed project, and you can still see a lot of the seams, but you get a better idea of what it's supposed to be as a movie. And I think the right move definitely would have been to leave Richard Donner on there, because have you seen Superman 3? Fucking atrocious.
It really is.
Terrible film.
And 4, even worse.
No, I like 4 because at least it's about Superman.
I guess that's probably true.
Yeah.
So what's the major narrative twist of the Donner cut, do you know?
Couldn't even tell you.
Okay.
I think it's more serious, less silly as a big part of it.
Okay, right.
Yeah. But no, that's something I probably should watch at some point. Because I'm sure I've skimmed through clips on YouTube.
Did they make the change? This is definitely a change somewhere where the criminals, these Kryptonian super criminals, are arrested.
There is a version of that.
But in most versions, they just fall to their deaths.
And I know a lot of this because people often comment, I've got a Superman kill count video, and people say, well, they didn't kill the Kryptonians because, in a version, you see them alive. But a lot of the time that only happens in a TV cut.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah, but he killed those.
Well, they're falling to their death and they go, oh, we're fine, actually.
Yeah, we're just going to fall infinitely, so we're technically alive. Yeah.
Oh, there's food down here. Yum, yum.
Yeah, so I don't know what else to say about that, but I think that's interesting that they got to go back. You got to go back and finish that years later. You mentioned earlier about a movie that maybe might be shorter than the one that was released originally, a director's cut, if you will.
Oh, yes.
Do you have one? Because I do.
Look, when I said that, James, I was just stalling for
You're
time.
just spinning your wheels.
I'm just spinning my wheels, but there's got to be one, right?
There is, because Alien in 2003, well, there's more than one, but Alien in 2003, the director's cut of the original film, it's shorter by a minute, so it moves at a bit more of a clip. It's quite a slow-paced film. I don't think it's not excruciatingly slow. I think it's very compelling. It's a slow burn sci-fi movie. But so do you know about the egg morphing scene?
No, tell me about it.
So it's where she goes into a room, Ripley, or another crew member. I can't remember. I have seen it. I've seen it in the movie. But some of the crew are slowly being kind of digested and turned into alien eggs. Mm-hmm. So I think the idea is then in alien lore, if one of these xenomorphs gets free and gets loose, in the absence of a queen, it can make an alien egg.
Right, sure.
Turn a person into an egg.
Okay.
But if it's got a queen, that she's just like, I'll make 1,000.
Yeah, it's very vague, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Movies, though, and that's great.
Well, that would have changed the whole continuity of the Alieniverse, to the best of my knowledge. Which they did anyway when they were like, well, David made him.
Didn't he just?
David the android made him.
Yeah, he made him. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even make sense really, though, because if David made them, why was that ship with the alien eggs on it from thousands of years in the past? Time travel. I fixed it.
Yep, that's right.
I fixed it.
Yep.
But do you know about also the Aliens special edition? The James Cameron.
I'm sure that's the one I've watched the most.
There's been a few.
Yes.
It's apparently evolved over several years throughout the 80s and 90s. You probably remember this, but this is mostly every version, like you mentioned. But the start where she gets out and she looks like she's in a park, but it's actually like a telly screen wall.
Oh, yes,
That's new. There's more. You see the colony before the attack, so you spend a little bit of time with them. Ripley says goodbye to Hicks before she goes after Newt. They have like a final moment. So there's extra scenes, and that's kind of the version that I mostly remember, I think. Yeah, so all of those things that I've mentioned, I'm like, yeah, no, I know that. That's the movie Aliens, but apparently not always.
It's interesting when they take out, especially when it's a horror movie, when they take out elements that would more humanize the various characters or make you feel more sympathy for them.
Sure.
I bet we've got some. Oh, you know what? The original Dawn of the Dead, like the 1970s version.
Okay, yeah.
There's more character development in the director's cut.
For the zombies?
Yeah.
Great.
We see their hobbies, we see their home life, but no, there's more.
We see the wife straighten the tie of her husband. Yeah.
Off you go, they scruff the kid's hair, the zombie kid's hair, send him off to zombie school. But there's more character.
It's just braids written on a chalkboard.
There's more gore, there's more character development.
Yeah,
so maybe like 15 minutes more, I think. And again, I'm not sure why you wouldn't do that. I mean, you want a brisk movie, but also an extra 15 minutes where we go, oh, I care about that guy a little bit more. So when he dies...
Do you think it's people assuming, the people who eventually are behind this final theatrical cut, that people just want to get to the zombies? Do you think it's people just being like, they don't care about any of that stuff, they just want to see them?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Yeah, especially if that stuff is done well, then you want to care about the people who are going to die.
Yeah.
You love RoboCop, don't you?
I do.
Do you know there's a RoboCop extended version? 1 minute extra of additional gory stuff, including Ed 209 shredding that dude in the boardroom. Apparently it goes for longer.
Yeah, I know. I'm well aware. Again, it's all laid out on the trading cards that I had as a child.
Oh, really?
Murphy getting his hand shot off, all sorts of stuff.
Is that not in the original?
I can't remember, but it's definitely on the trading cards for children.
I know, because I remember you showed me one, and one of your trading cards is like that dude who's melting in toxic waste.
Yeah.
These are for children.
They are for children.
And some men, some grown men.
Have we talked about Mortal Kombat 11 on this podcast? We have in real life.
Not really, I don't think.
Because there's a RoboCop's in it now.
Absolutely. This is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for a definitive version of this version of Mortal Kombat. Now I'm going to get it. Yeah.
And one of his fatalities, he shoots a guy through the dick.
That's so RoboCop.
But in inimitable Mortal Kombat style, not only does he shoot his opponent through the dick, he's also like flung a grenade behind them, so he shoots them through the dick and it goes through the grenade and then they explode into pieces.
He knows what he's doing.
He's been around the block a few times.
But that also strikes me as out of character for RoboCop because he's not sadistic.
Yeah.
But it's Mortal Kombat, isn't it?
That's true.
And it's probably Scorpion or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. RoboCop's a good movie, I think.
I think it is.
Yeah, no, it is. Of course it is.
Yeah. Here's one that I didn't know because the version I've seen, I guess, has always been the extended cut. The Exorcist.
Yeah, right.
The scene where...
the face on the wall is a part, isn't it?
Yeah, but when the kid spider crawls down the stairs...
That was a 99 edition or something, wasn't
like
it?
2000, I think.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Why would you leave that out? That's the least stupid thing in the movie.
That's a great movie.
I don't like The Exorcist.
It's terrific.
I think it's very funny.
Get out of here.
It's either a great effect. It's a combination of effects and stunts.
I
and
thought it
camera
was
work.
an effect because I'd only obviously seen it when in the re-release.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just like a very flexible person being able to do that. Yeah, and the speed that it's probably ramped up a little bit, but the speed that it happens, it's quite unnerving. Yeah, it's a good movie. Don't you think?
No, I don't think it is. But
we both think it's a good movie.
All right, okay.
You know about Kingdom of Heaven, don't you? A movie I still have not seen. It stars Orlando Bloom, was directed by Ridley Scott. It's about knights and stuff.
Oh, yes.
Like, you're all knights.
Who's he? Who are they? Who are you talking about?
He's a knight and he's knighting other knights. Can't knights knight other knights?
I don't think they can.
I think they can.
I don't think they can.
I think you can knight other knights.
Do you know what you get in the modern day if you become knighted?
I don't know. Like
nothing.
What?
You get nothing.
Because there was that dude who recently turned 100 and did like laps of his garden, and so the queen made him a knight.
Yeah,
and he didn't get anything?
You don't get anything.
You should have gotten at least like 5 years off the queen of like extra life. Just take them from the queen and
my goodness,
hand them over, don't you think?
That would be fair, I think. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. But so the Kingdom of Heaven, it was panned at the time at its release. It's like, we've seen enough of this bloody sword nonsense that's been going on. You already made Gladiator and whatever. We're sick of this crap. But the extra 45 minutes that are in the extended home release, apparently it's just a completely different and incredible film.
Why the change?
But I guess to get it into cinemas and get people and then get them out.
They can't. Okay, wow.
I don't know.
That's one of the most fascinating ones to me. Like the idea of it wasn't one 45-minute chunk.
I know. I'd imagine not. Again, I haven't seen it.
It was some subplots or something, or some character development. That is fascinating.
Yeah,
like just the idea, and see that very much feels like a studio decision of like, who cares? It's people do like swords and knighting and etc.
Don't they?
And sword fights. Just put it out there. It doesn't matter what it's like.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if people enjoy it because they'll only see it once. Yes. Just put it out there and who cares?
Yeah.
Because we'll get more sessions in. That feels, James, it feels very cynical.
Does it? Yes. Are you going to watch that now that I've said this? Nope. I got to watch this movie. Okay. It's amazing to me that I haven't. It's amazing to you that I haven't too, right?
I mean, I'm not amazed by most of the movies you haven't seen.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'll try and think of
That sounds like an insult, but it wasn't really. It was just...
No, well, you can't see everything. You
That's
know what
true,
I mean?
Yeah.
You cannot see everything. It'd be remiss of us if we didn't talk about the Daredevil extended cut.
That's
it's
true.
the way Daredevil was meant to be seen. I've seen it. It doesn't add much. It's like the Coolio courtroom scene.
Yes.
Probably some other stuff, but it doesn't make it a better movie. It just makes it a longer movie.
Well, some would say that's a better movie.
And to be fair, though...
We get to live longer in the world of Daredevil.
Yeah,
1990s Daredevil. 2000s Daredevil.
2003's Daredevil.
I don't know.
I like Daredevil, the movie. I mean...
Why?
Because it's fun. It's like...
I guess.
I just think it's like... I mean, I'm not going out of my way to watch it, but I think it's a fun kind of snapshot of that era. I think it captures everything they were doing in the worst comic book movies at the time.
Yeah,
or what they
true.
thought that people wanted to see in comic book movies.
It's a time capsule.
It's a time. It's like let's do X-Men and the Matrix with the leather suits and whatever, and all those kinds of things. And like the Bullseye is ridiculous. He's carved a bullseye into his own head. And
people have recommended to me a show recently called, or perhaps it's called Mid-90s.
Okay.
And and it's a
Is that the Jonah Hill movie you're talking about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because there's a Jonah Hill movie called Mid-90s.
Then maybe that's exactly what I'm talking about. But a lot of people have been recommending it to me, and I'm like, well, that's, it's nice to see a modern day interpretation of that era, but it doesn't have the no matter how hard they try, it does not have the authenticity of just a Daredevil movie.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah. I guess Terminator 2 has various... editions and special editions and extended stuff and director's cuts. I know we talked about this recently, but you mentioned how there's some of that stuff you like and some of it you don't. Mm-hmm. I think the only stuff that really needs to be there, not even needs to be there, that is a good addition that doesn't kind of bog down the movie is the chips scene where they flick the chip from read only to he can learn stuff.
To only read.
To only read. It's all he does. But I think that's also... They've cut that movie, like the theatrical version.
James, I want to pause. I should have said read never because they needed the intense jock energy to defeat the T-1000.
That's true,
yeah.
He can't be reading books, can he?
That's
he doesn't
true.
have time for that. But I think that movie, you get the idea that he's learning.
Or the whole time, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So by the end, you're not like, but didn't you have aren't they read only?
There's literally the scene, the way it's cut is in the theatrical release, he says, I'll
be back.
Yes, he says that, but he also says...
I'll still a vista, baby.
No, he says that, but also he says that the chip in his brain is a learning computer, and then it just cuts off.
Yeah, right.
But it's only in the extended version where he says, but it's set to read only. Guess we're going to have a journey into the mind, and you're really going to have to think about some choices you're going to make, Sarah Connor, whether you're going to kill me or not, you know?
Yeah.
I've already predicted you're probably going to have to think about killing me or not.
We need your twin sister to shoot this scene.
That's right.
That's how they did it.
I know.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Look into it. I know you know.
There's so many twins
if
in that movie.
I don't mention it, people will mention it to us.
Yeah.
There are a lot of twins in that movie.
Yeah.
Gone to the days where they'll just get twins. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Twins are out of work. What are they doing now? Just throw them into a big pile.
Yep.
That's what I think they're doing.
Yep.
A big snow shovel.
No, they're probably in iPhone ads.
Yeah, they probably are.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But there is some extra scenes that have been added to Terminator 2 over the years. You know the bit where the Terminator lies about the dog? He's like, what's up with the Wolfie or whatever? And it's not the dog's real name. Mm-hmm. You actually see the T-1000 then go and he finds the dog and he rips the collar off and he sees that the dog's name is
not
Max.
Wolfie.
Not Wolfie. And he's like... But like, again, you don't need to know that he's figured it out.
Yes.
Because also the T-1000 was just in a big... They had a big fight together and there's a big crash. So the T-1000 knows that the Terminator is probably with John Connor at that point.
That's true, yes.
I'd imagine. There's a Kyle Reese scene as well.
Oh, yes.
Where he's like, Sarah, save our son, Sarah. And she's like, I'm trying,
Working
man.
on it, all right?
Doing chin-ups. What are you doing? You're a ghost.
Yeah.
You're not doing
Maybe
nothing.
you could save our son, Kyle Reese. Oh, you can't.
I know he's not a ghost also. He's like a figment of imagination or whatever. And then there's a bit also at the end that you don't like where the T-1000 is glitching. I like it, but you don't like it because it doesn't look as good. Is that
Got
right?
weird styrofoam feet. I hate it.
I can't argue with that.
That's
But
right.
I'm going to. Here we go. Just warming up my hands. I'm not really getting ready to argue.
My goodness.
That's all right. Yeah. I guess this isn't a great one for me to end on. I've got some other ones we can just list off, but I Am Legend there's a director's cut for a director's cut ending, which we've talked about quite a lot. You're familiar with this one though, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I thought I'd briefly explain that and then talk about why it was changed. So if you're familiar with the movie I Am Legend, at the end of the movie I Am Legend, Will Smith, he's a bit of a legend and he finds a cure, maybe, I think, in one of the versions or both, and then he blows up himself and all the bad guys. I was going to say aliens. They're not aliens. They're technically vampires, Darkstalkers, Darkseekers, with a grenade.
Yes.
And he's a bit of a legend. Everyone's like...
If you keep this sentence going, eventually none of the words will be pronounced correctly or make any sense.
And then the friends who we meet get away and they're like, he was pretty good, that guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But the other version is that he figures out that the woman that he's kidnapped, the Darkstalker, she is actually the girlfriend / love interest of the main zombie guy with his big billowy torn shirt that he's running around with. And that's the reason why they're going after him, which also makes more sense. And he also has a realization because he's looking at all the screens of all those different Darkstalkers that he's killed. And he's like, I'm a bad dude because these things have feelings.
They all have name tags.
They've got name tags. I've been killing them. And which
They
is
just work down at the Kmart.
yeah. I mean, that's more in line with the book, obviously, where he figures out that he's a bad dude.
And then the movie just repeats itself from the perspective of the boyfriend and girlfriend team.
Yeah.
They're just having a lovely rom-com
They
situation.
just don't have a good time. And he's bloody snatched her bloody out of a bloody cupboard or whatever happened in that movie. Yeah. So anyway, the reason they changed it, director Francis Lawrence, which people might know from, did some Hunger Games movies, maybe all of them, who's to say? The reason the ending was changed to the happier one, which is also the one where he explodes, was because there was intense negative reactions to the ending where Neville, which is his name, the only reason because that's his name in the original book, and
Will Smith would never be a Neville.
No, he wouldn't. He'd be a Nev, would he?
No.
No.
He'd be a Jack or a John.
Yeah.
Because that's the only acceptable hero names in
That's true.
mainstream cinema.
Neville had a villainous realization, and the test audiences didn't like that, like a moment of self-doubt from a character.
Don't want that in my movies.
So that's why they got rid of it. So that's good, I guess. And it makes that movie much worse, I feel. Like, I like that movie, but I do not like the original ending. So
I don't like that movie or that ending or the alternate ending.
What about the Batman Superman?
Oh, that's pretty good. Oh, my God.
Do you remember when they showed it?
Yes.
And people were like, but when? 2016.
Yep.
That's when.
That's right.
Yeah. Gonna rattle
They
off.
hired a guy to go into every screening. So when people were like, but when? He'd go, 2016. And we'd all know.
And then you'd have to add the caveat that Superman S is actually from the Superman Returns films, but we're actually not going to continue with that particular franchise. We're aiming for a reboot at that point.
But nobody would hear that because it was just cheering at that point.
Yeah,
so
right.
towards the end of his shift, like he'd been doing it for a few weeks in the theatrical run, he just stopped saying that bit. Still got paid the same.
No doubt. Once Upon a Time in America, standard cut of that. Watchmen, there's various versions. One where they put the pirate stuff back in as well. Sucker Punch, never seen either version.
Should we watch Sucker Punch?
No.
Because we're talking about all the Snyder movies.
I
Maybe we should watch
know,
Sucker
Mason.
Punch. I hear it's bad.
Yeah, apparently visually very interesting.
That's where, yep.
But emotionally quite taxing. I haven't seen it. Maybe we'd love it.
Oh, what if we did, though? What a revelation for us as people.
But I've heard people say, like, if you watch it like a video game cutscene or like a soundtrack to a movie film.
Or if you put an ice pick through your brain.
Yeah, then you might actually like it. Almost Famous, Touch of Evil, Apocalypse Now Redux, which we talked about, and of course the movie Brazil, which is our favourite movie.
No, I hate it.
I don't like the movie Brazil either.
Maybe we watched the wrong version, though.
Did we though? I don't know. I saw the bit with the stretched face and he had a night suit and he had a big wings at some point.
Should we rewatch Brazil?
No. So that's all the movies that have ever had an extended or director's cut. Can you name another one, Mason?
No.
Then we've named them all.
Wow.
But look, if people want to send some through, yeah, we're bloody. What are some good ones? Maybe, I guess, is my question. What's your question?
What is your? Let us know one that you enjoy or hate, but give us the key moment where you're like, oh, this turned it around for me as something I love, or this was a horrible mistake they've made.
Absolutely.
We are all our own auteurs out there. We can make that decision, I think.
I think it's also interesting that we're in the age where people can make their own edits of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously the Phantom edit is like a huge, that was a huge kind of fan reaction to Star Wars and all of those kinds of things. And now people kind of do that to everything. And it's kind of, maybe it's lost its... the only version I would like to see is, there's the despecialized editions of Star Wars, which somebody has made.
Yeah, right.
Taken the original films and just made them as they're supposed to be saying.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did they just get their VHS copies of the old ones?
There is a whole lot of like different scans and redoing of effects or undoing of effects and things like that. Yeah, you can download them if you want.
I will.
You don't have to. It's illegal. Don't admit to that.
Okay, I shan't. I'll just download the Bible.
Very good.
Which is royalty free.
That's illegal, Mason.
It's not, though.
Okay, you're lucky.
No.
Yeah.
And if it is, only God can judge me.
Very good. Hello, it's the end. This is just a sign off to say this is actually, but there's an extended version of this from our podcast. Mm-hmm. So if we missed something in here, we actually didn't. It's in the extended.
It's in the extended cut. That's right. We tricked you.
You can come at us, but it's no point.
You should probably just listen to our podcast and all the other episodes of our podcast.
That's right.
What else are you doing right now? You're locked in your house, probably.
Yeah.
Not due to any coronavirus reason. It's a door handle related reason.
That's right. And that's between you and the door handle, obviously. Right. So nothing to do with us. Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, it's linked below. Comes out every Monday if you do want to check it out. And there's videos here all the time. So subscribe if you want and goodbye.
Grab that, Jimmy. Guys, we'll see you next week.
Stop recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't I?